Hi there, and welcome to Scott Alexander Art. Thank you for joining me. Today's video is going to be a tribute to my favourite painter, Vincent van Gogh. Born in 1853 and died in 1890 at the age of 37. He's an artist whose work is so familiar to us all. He's an artist so popular that there is a certain mythology surrounding his life. Van Gogh has become synonymous with the tortured genius, and his impact on the artistic world has been, and continues to be, remarkable. He is an inspiration to artists all around the world. Popular culture has absorbed every aspect of his life, and his artwork is everywhere. Gorgeous, bright colours, thick, juicy paint, expressive and emotive brushwork. I can't think of another artist whose impact has been as great. He certainly inspires my own work. That's why I wanted to make a video about Van Gogh. But I thought, what could I do or add to the vast quantity of information that there is already out there for people to access about his life? I think for one thing, I wanted my video to be a small tribute to him. And I couldn't think of a better way to do this than to try and reproduce one of his paintings all these years on from when he originally painted it. And I hope that he would have been, pleased to find that there are people like me in the world trying to paint like him. I think if there is one thing a painter wants to achieve, it is to inspire others so much so that they take up painting. And I think more broadly this is how the arts continue on through the generations. Inspiration is gifted from one to the other. I just want to make a little note about the painting that you can see in the video. So I recently came across this artwork in a book of mine. It's a book by Taschen and it contains his complete works. And because there are so many of his paintings inside, sometimes when I flick through I'm surprised because I see one that I haven't before. And that's what happened with this painting here. It's one that I haven't seen before, and I just absolutely loved it. I loved the setting, the composition, the colours, and I thought I must just try and have a go at painting this one because I'd really like to have a copy of it. So the painting is called View of the Church of St. Paul de Mousson. I believe it's in a private collection, so unfortunately it's not one that I can track down and actually get in front of in real life. So I'll have to settle for my reproduction of it, and I hope it turns out well. To go back to my point about what I could do in a video that was slightly different from the other information that is out there about Van Gogh's life, I thought I could, in conjunction with my reproduction of his painting, choose some letters of his to read for you to listen to. I couldn't really think of a better way, other than viewing his work, to get to know the real Van Gogh than by reading his letters. They were mainly written to his brother Theo, and I find them incredibly interesting. They are full of honesty and will bring you closer to Van Gogh, the man and the artist. I would say that they are their own contribution to literature, and this contribution is brilliantly summed up on the cover, or the back cover, of the book that I own. It's by Penguin Classics, and they state, "Few artists' letters are as self-revelatory as Vincent van Gogh's, and this selection, spanning his artistic career, sheds light on every facet of the life and work of this complex and tortured man. Engaging candidly and movingly with his religious struggles, his ill-fated search for love, his attacks of mental illness, and his relationship with his brother Theo, the letters contradict the popular image of Van Gogh as an antisocial madman and a martyr to art, showing instead a man of great emotional and spiritual depths. Above all, they stand as an intense personal narrative of artistic development and a unique account of the process of creation." I just love that description there of his letters. I think that sums it up brilliantly. The reference for the book will be in the description below. Now, I've only selected a few to read, so I obviously do recommend that you get a copy of the book so you can explore his life in much greater detail than I can give you just in this short video. And I think in the selection of the ones I've chosen, I mean, really I could have chosen from many other ones that are in there, but these are just the ones that sort of appealed to me at the time of creating this video. So let's begin and enter into Van Gogh's world. 15th of August 1879. My dear Theo, I am writing to you expressly to tell you how grateful I am for your visit. It had been quite a long time since we had seen each other, or had written as we used to do. Still, it is better to be close than dead to each other. The more so as, until one is truly entitled to be called dead by virtue of one's legal demise, it smacks of hypocrisy, or at least childishness, to carry on as if one were. Childish in the manner of a young man of 14 who believes that his dignity and rank in society oblige him to wear a top hat. The hours we spent together have at least assured us that we are both still in the land of the living. When I saw you again and walked with you, I had a feeling I used to have more often than I do now, namely that life is something good and precious which one should value. And I felt more cheerful and alive than I have been feeling for a long time, because in spite of myself, my life has gradually become much less precious, much less important, and more a matter of indifference to me, or so it has seemed. When one lives with others and is bound by feelings of affection, then one realizes that one has a reason for living, that one may not be utterly worthless and expendable, but is perhaps good for something, since we need one another and are journeying together as compagnons de voyage. But our proper sense of self-esteem is also highly dependent upon our relationship with others. A prisoner who is condemned to solitude, who is prevented from working, will in the long run, especially if the run is too long, suffer from the effects as surely as one who has gone hungry for too long. Like everyone else, I need friendly or affectionate relationships, or intimate companionship, and am not made of stone or iron, like a pump or a lamppost. And like any man of culture or decency, I cannot do without these things, and not feel a void, a lack of something, and I tell you all this to let you know how much good your visit has done me. If you were to write again soon, you would make me very happy. I walked to Vasmes the evening after you left, have drawn yet another portrait since. Goodbye, accept a handshake in my thoughts, and believe me, yours truly, Vincent. Thursday, 6th of July, 1882. My dear Theo, it is now the evening before I go back to hospital again, and I don't know what they are going to tell me there. Perhaps I'll only be in for a short while. Perhaps they'll bring out their probes again, and I'll have to keep to my bed for days. That's why I'm writing once again from home. It is so quiet and peaceful here in the studio right now. It is already late, but it is stormy and rainy outside, and that makes the calm inside even greater. How I wish I had you here with me during this quiet hour, brother. How much I should have to show you. The studio looks so much like the real thing, or so it seems to me. Plain grey-brown wallpaper, scrubbed floorboards, muslin stretched on the slats, across the windows, everything bright. And, of course, the studies on the wall, an easel on either side, and a large unpainted wooden work table. The studio gives onto a sort of alcove, where the drawing boards, portfolios, boxes, sticks are kept, as well as all the prints, and in the corner a cupboard with all the pots and bottles, and on top of that all my books. Then the living room with a table, a few kitchen chairs, an oil stove, a large wicker armchair for the woman in the corner by the window overlooking the yard and the meadows that you know from the drawing, and next to it a small iron cradle with a green cover. This last piece of furniture is something I cannot look at without emotion, because a man is gripped by a strong and powerful emotion when he sits down next to the woman he loves, with a baby in the cradle beside them. And although it was in a hospital that she lay and I sat next to her, it is always that eternal poetry of Christmas night, with the infant in the stable, as the old Dutch painters conceived it, and Malay and Breton, a light in the darkness, a brightness in the middle of a dark night. And so I hung the large etching after Rembrandt over it, the two women by the cradle, one of them reading from the Bible by candlelight, while the great shadows cast a deep chiaroscuro over the whole room. I've hung a few other prints there, all of them very beautiful. Now then, in the small kitchen I have only the barest necessities, but such that if the woman recovers before me, she will find all the essentials and be able to get a meal ready in 10 minutes. In short, such as will show her, when she steps into a house which has flowers in the window, where she will be sitting, that someone has been giving her a great deal of thought, and upstairs in the large attic, a big bedstead for the two of us, and my old one for the child, with all the bedding in good order. You see, brother, I think of you a very great deal these days. In the first place, because everything, all that I have, is really yours, my lust for life and my energy too, for I'm able to get going now with your help and can feel my capacity to work flowing back. 21st of July, 1882. Dear brother, it is already late, but I felt like writing to you again anyway. You are not here, but I need you and sometimes feel we are not far away from each other. Today I promised myself something, that is, to treat my indisposition, or rather what remains of it, as if it didn't exist. Enough time has been lost, work must go on. So, well or not well, I am going back to drawing regularly, from morning till night. I don't want anybody to be able to say to me again, "Oh, but those are only old drawings." I drew a study today of the child's little cradle with some touches of colour in it. I am also at work on one like those meadows I sent to you recently. Art is jealous. She doesn't like taking second place to an indisposition. Hence I shall humour her. So you will, I hope, be receiving a few more reasonably acceptable things shortly. People like me really should not be ill. I would like to make it perfectly clear to you how I look at art. To get to the essence of things one has to work long and hard. What I want and have as my aim is infernally difficult to achieve. And yet I don't think I am raising my sights too high. I want to do drawings that will touch some people. There is at least something straight from my own heart in them. What I want to express, in both figure and landscape, isn't anything sentimental or melancholy, but deep anguish. In short, I want to get to the point where people say of my work, that man feels deeply, that man feels keenly, in spite of my so-called coarseness. Do you understand? Perhaps for that very reason. It seems pretentious to talk like that now, but that is the reason why I want to put all my energies into it. What am I in the eyes of most people? A non-entity, an eccentric, or an unpleasant person? Somebody who has no position in society and never will have. In short, the lowest of the low. All right then. Even if that were absolutely true, then I should one day like to show you by my work what such an eccentric, such a nobody, has in his heart. Though I am often in the depths of misery, there is still calmness, pure harmony and music inside me. I see paintings or drawings in the poorest cottages, in the dirtiest corners, and my mind is driven towards these things with an irresistible momentum. Other things increasingly lose their hold on me, and the more they do, so the more quickly my eye lights on the picturesque. Art demands dogged work, work in spite of everything and continuous observation. By dogged, I mean in the first place incessant labour, but also not abandoning one's views upon the say-so of this person or that. I am not without hope, brother, that in a few years' time, or perhaps even now, little by little, you will see things I have done that will give you some satisfaction after all your sacrifices. I just wanted to tell you, that I am going to get back to working regularly again. I must do so at that. And I'd just like to add that I look forward so much to a letter. And for the rest, I bid you good night. Goodbye, with a handshake. Ever yours, Vincent. An excerpt from Sunday morning, 3rd of September 1882. You can see that I am plunging full speed ahead into painting. I am plunging into colour. I have refrained from doing so up till now, and am not sorry for it. If I am going to work on panel or canvas, then the expenses will go up again. Everything is so expensive, paint is expensive too, and so quickly used up. Well, these are all complaints painters have. We must see what can be done. I know for certain that I have a feeling for colour, and shall acquire more and more that painting is in the very marrow of my bones. Well, if there could be a little extra this month, that would be wonderful. If not, then not. I shall work as hard as I can. You ask about my health, but what about yours? I would imagine my remedy would be yours as well. To be out in the open, painting. I am well. I still feel like it even when I'm tired. And that is getting better rather than worse. It's also a good thing, I think, that I live as frugally as possible, but my main remedy is painting. I sincerely hope that your luck is in and that you will have even more. Please accept a handshake in my thoughts, and believe me, ever yours, Vincent. 25th of July, 1888. My dear Theo, thank you for your kind letter. If you remember, mine ended with, "We are getting old." That is the fact of the matter, and all the rest is imagination, and simply does not exist. Well, I said that more for myself than for you, and I said it because I feel it is absolutely essential for me to take action accordingly, not perhaps by working harder, but with greater seriousness. You mention the emptiness you sometimes feel, and that's exactly what I feel myself. Consider, if you will, the times in which we live to be a true and great renaissance of art, the worm-ridden official tradition still holding sway, yet ultimately impotent and idle. The new painters still isolated, poor, treated as madmen, and because of this treatment actually going insane, at least as far as their social life is concerned. Then remember that you are doing exactly the same job as these primitive painters, since you provide them with money and sell their canvases, which enables them to produce others. If a painter ruins himself emotionally by working hard at his painting, and renders himself unfit for so much else, for family life, etc., if, consequently, he paints not only with colour, but with self-sacrifice and self-denial, and a broken heart, then your own work is not only no better paid, but costs you, in exactly the same way as a painter, this half-deliberate, half-accidental eclipse of your personality. What I mean is that, though you are indirectly involved in painting, you are more productive than I am, for instance. The more completely you are involved in dealing, the more of an artist you become, and so I hope the same thing for myself. The more wasted and sick I become, a broken picture, the more I may also become a creative artist in this great renaissance of art of which we speak. You will be doing well if you can make me feel that art is alive, you who love art perhaps more than I do. I tell myself that it isn't the fault of art but my own, that the only means of regaining my confidence and peace of mind is to do better. And that brings us back again to the end of my last letter. I myself may be getting old, but it would be sheer fantasy to think that art has had its day. For the rest, I think I have spoken the truth, that I would be doing no more than my duty should I ever manage to pay back in kind the money you have laid out, and in practice that means doing portraits. As for drinking too much, I have no idea if it's a bad thing. Take Bismarck, who, think what you like, is very practical and very intelligent. His good doctor told him that he drank too much and that he'd been putting a severe strain on his stomach and his brain all his life. B stopped drinking at once. He has gone downhill ever since and is getting no better. He must be laughing up his sleeve at his doctor, whom, luckily for him, he did not consult sooner. So there we are, with a hearty handshake, ever yours, Vincent. Excerpt from 16th October 1888. My dear Theo, I'm sending you a little sketch at long last to give you at least some idea of the direction my work is taking, because I feel quite well again today. My eyes are still tired, but I had a new idea all the same, and here is the sketch of it. As always, a size 30 canvas. This time it's simply my bedroom. Only here everything depends on the colour, and by simplifying it I am lending it more style, creating an overall impression of rest or sleep. In fact, a look at the picture ought to rest the mind, or rather the imagination. The walls are pale violet, the floor is red tiles. The wood of the bed and the chairs is the yellow of fresh butter, and the sheet and the pillows very light lime green, the blanket scarlet, the window green, the washstand orange, the basin blue, the doors lilac, and that's all, nothing of any consequence in this shuttered room. The sturdy lines of the furniture should also express undisturbed rest. Portraits on the wall, and a mirror and a hand towel and some clothes. The frame, because there is no white in the picture, will be white. This by way of revenge for the enforced rest I have had to take. I shall work on it again all day tomorrow, but you can see how simple the conception is. The shadows and the car shadows are left out, and it is painted in bright flat tints like the Japanese prints. I am not writing you a long letter because I intend starting very early tomorrow in the cool morning light so as to finish my canvas. How are your aches and pains? Don't forget to let me know. I hope you'll write one of these days. One day I'll do some sketches for you of the other rooms too. With a good handshake, ever yours, Vincent. 10th of July, 1890. Dear brother and sister, the letter from Joe has really been like a gospel for me, a deliverance from the distress caused by the hours I shared with you, which were rather difficult and trying for us all. It is no small matter when we are all made aware that our daily bread is at risk. No small matter when, for different reasons, we are also made aware of the precariousness of our existence. Back here I too still felt very sad, and the storm which threatens you continued to weigh heavily on me as well. What is there to be done? Look, I try to be reasonably good-humoured in general, but my life is also under attack at its very root. My step is also unsteady. I was afraid, not entirely, but a little, nevertheless, that my being a burden to you was something you found intolerable. But Joe's letter proves to me clearly that you do realise that I am working and making an effort just as much as you are. So, having arrived back here, I have set to work again, although the brush is nearly falling from my hands, and because I knew exactly what I wanted to do, I have painted 3 more large canvases. They are vast stretches of wheat under troubled skies, and I didn't have to put myself out very much in order to try and express sadness and extreme loneliness. I hope you'll be seeing them shortly, since I'd like to bring them to you in Paris as soon as possible. I'm fairly sure these canvases will tell you what I cannot say in words, that is, how healthy and invigorating I find the countryside. Wishing you both luck, a stout heart and comparative prosperity, may I ask you to tell Mother and our sister once again that I think of them very often. Indeed, I had a letter from them this morning and will be replying soon. Handshakes in thought. Ever yours, Vincent. Short excerpts from 24th July 1890. My dear brother, thank you for your letter of today and the enclosed 50-franc note. I should try perhaps to write to you about a great many things, but in the first place I have completely lost the inclination, and then it seems useless to me. As far as I am concerned, I am giving my canvases my undivided attention. I am trying to do as well as some painters I have greatly loved and admired. Goodbye for now. Keep well and good luck in business, etc. Remember me to Joe, and handshakes in thought. Ever yours, Vincent. Thank you for watching and listening to the letters of Vincent van Gogh. They are extremely brilliant, and it's certainly worth your while picking up a copy of the book, The Letters of Vincent van Gogh. Just a small note, some of the letters that I've read are much longer, so I have missed certain passages just to keep the length of the whole video down. But thanks again. I hope you've enjoyed watching my painting coming together. I've really enjoyed painting it and trying to reproduce his work. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.